So that if God were going to step into a meeting in a special way, he will mask himself in the ordinary. In the day that the cry of Israel reached up to God, the Bible said that God went in search of a certain man, and his name was Moses. He was born to that end, but he had derailed because of self-will. His understanding of the timings of God was inaccurate, and because he did not understand the timings, the activity that defined a deliverer's enterprise was not revealed to him. He felt that the way to deliver the people of Israel was to kill all of their slave masters. That's how some Nigerians pray. That the way to rid this nation of bad leadership is that all our leaders die. That was not God's plan for Egypt. It was that in the midst of that season, a ranking man, and ranking by all stands, because in my teachings I have established that it was a fivefold in one man. He was an evangelist by excellence, because his first assignment was to muster together a company of men who had no knowledge of Jehovah. The last set of people who had fellowship with God had died, and God had to, in a day of ignorance, bring forth a man. So the signs of Moses in Egypt were not just to confirm to Pharaoh, it was to bring the people of Israel together, because his introduction was not, your God sent me to you, it was the God of your fathers. If you know him at all, it was stories you heard. You have stayed too long in slavery, his memory has been erased. So he was an evangelist. He was a pastor, and his audience was an audience that had not been discipled for too long, and his assignment was to move that audience under his discipleship over a space of 40 days, which became 40 years. He was not just to feed them with the word. Anything that pertained to their well-being was designed to be supplied by this ranking pastor, Moses. He was an apostle, because his life was gifted to these people not only as an oracle of God, he was gifted to them as a pattern of God. And so in the days that the children of Israel walked from the land of captivity into the promised land, the God that was interacting with them in the spirit had a human face, and the human face was Moses. The rod of Moses was equal to the rod of God. Be careful if he calls you to be an apostle. Your life will not be judged by the accuracy of utterance, it will be judged by the accuracy of life. You are the face of God in the generation. One of the excerpts that I released, because I've been musing a lot about the subject of the conference, and one of the excerpts that I released this afternoon, I think it's on my Facebook page alone yet, he said the signature of God in the territory is with the sent man. What it means is that invariably everything the sent man does is assumed to be what God is doing. And is that not scary? It means if the sent man says something that God is not saying, it will be assumed that was God that said it. And so God can be misunderstood if the sent man is not an accurate man, because based on design, every place he puts his hand upon, he leaves not only his fingerprints, he leaves his signature of God. He was an apostle, was a pattern man. He was a prophet, because there were many utterances that he pronounced, including, that's how ranking he was, including the distinguishing reality that will help the nation of Israel recognize who the Messiah was. Because he spoke to them in advance that a prophet like unto me will God raise among you, and him shall you hearken to. Some newer translations say, in him ye shall hear. So that in the day that God was going to echo that statement on the Mount of Transfiguration, the man who pioneered that utterance in the earth realm had to be present. So what I said that time, the way I met God and I began to glow, a day will come when another will glow like me. That will be his distinguishing sign. They can tell you things, but the glowing man is the sent man.